and thank you for having me today. So we'll show everyone just a peek at some of the products and how we're catering to many of the largest institutions, like Mariana said, in the crypto space, and many of the new financial institutions that are entering it, like we've seen in the news over the last year. And so for those that aren't familiar, so I'm Robert Materazzi. I am the CEO at Lukka. Lukka is a software and data company that caters to middle and back office data challenges in the crypto ecosystem. We serve many of the largest exchanges, particularly many of those in the United States, and other providers with both our software and data products. So we'll do effectively corporate books and create a subledger based on all of the crypto activity that might be on a business's balance sheet. And we support that with our data products, which is the presentation I'll show you here to give you a peek at. And this data, to give you some of the more publicly known companies that we're working with, this data is what powers S&P DJI's crypto indices that have started launching earlier this year. It's also the same data that's redistributed through IHS Markit, Dev Experts, and a number of other redistribution partners. And then we also sell it directly to many different institutions, really anyone that needs pricing or reference data, and I'll explain what those are. So to set the stage for those that aren't familiar with what happens in crypto, there's hundreds or probably even more at this point of unsupervised crypto exchanges, OTC desks, other types of market makers and places that people interact with any type of crypto assets and transactions around the world. All of this is done without standard setters really involved, setting any rules that would normalize any of this data or make any of the reporting requirements consistent. And sometimes that's taken for granted when businesses think that they can comply with things as simple as as US GAAP or IFRS guidelines, so accounting standards. And when you try to apply some of those existing rules to crypto assets, everything breaks. And so this particular use case that I'll talk about here, which is Lukka Prime, is valuing crypto assets. So for post-trade operations, so it's what you would want to mark your books with, it's what you would file your taxes with. If you're a fund, you would strike NAV or your net asset value reports with it. And we had to create a unique and proprietary methodology, which is the underlying methodology that supports Lukka Prime, in order to determine fair market value for crypto. The really big takeaway for layman's is that fair market value requires an executed price on a primary market. And in crypto, we don't have primary markets. We don't have an end of day. The markets are open 24/7, which is great for innovation, great for traders. It causes problems for post-trade operations. And so Lukka Prime addresses that. And so we've built all of our products with custom data and software that's built on infrastructure custom tailored for crypto assets. And there's a number of reasons why traditional infrastructure usually struggles if it can even contain crypto transaction data. And decimal place precision is one of the many things that is a limitation usually. Here's a really quick overview. We have a bunch of other data products. I'm not going to go through all of these, but we have several other. Our reference data is really at the core of all of that you see in the center of the circle. And what that means is if Gemini, Kraken, and Coinbase all offer Bitcoin on their platforms like they do, they can all choose different ticker symbols for those assets. So some might use XBT, some use BTC, and so on. Reference data normalizes all that. So no matter where we're getting the crypto asset transaction data from, reference data will map to all of those listings across all the different sources. And we do this for hundreds of sources across over 14,000 crypto assets. And that's really the first step that we need to solve. And then from there, we have, and I'll show you the one picture here, which is the easier answer. What we do for Lukka Prime to discern fair market value is we'll take in raw exchange prices from the biggest exchanges that have the most liquidity around the world. We'll normalize it with our reference data, like I said, which is in the second box here. We apply a 5-step weighting process to all that transaction data for each asset. And so what we're doing is looking at things like KYC, AML, governance in any local region, and we rule out a bunch of exchanges so that it can end up with a fair market value, so an executed price for each of those assets. And so this is just one. I know I'm probably at my time here, but this is just one example of how we need to think through new methodologies in order to achieve some of the things that we have to do for normal, business reporting, passing audits, and other normal processes. And so, very excited to offer these products. And please don't hesitate to reach out if we can answer anything else. And thank you again for having me. I hope I hit the time there.
You know what, Robert, you can go on if you have other things.
A little more? Sure.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead, because this is very interesting.
Sure, happy to. Feel free to cut me off whenever you'd like. So maybe I'll touch on here to build on what I just described. So Lukka Prime, the focus of it is to come up with a fair market value price, which makes all the accountants happy and everything. We do absolutely offer other pricing products, so volume weighted average prices. We support indices and a number of other things with the same infrastructure, which requires various different data elements. For Lukka Prime specifically, the methodology is appropriate for the most liquid crypto assets, so the ones that are traded in the highest volumes around the world. And so right now it covers over 1,000 crypto assets, which are the more liquid ones. We do go back all the way to 2014 for history. And we're constantly reassessing the exchanges that are part of the methodology to make sure that they're current and relevant with all the developments in the ecosystem. But we do offer other products that have coverage that's much higher, but may not be appropriate for, Lukka Prime is not appropriate for more thinly traded assets. So that's just another problem that the ecosystem has. If something is traded less frequently, the same valuation techniques can't really be applied for a number of reasons. And so we've actually just recently written a white paper on that topic too, which covers some of those thinly traded assets, and we're in the process of turning it into a product to offer to the asset and to the public, and then that would increase the coverage to determine fair market value beyond just the liquid ones. So to give you an idea of some of the other problems that we're brainstorming, and I know you mentioned DeFi and DEXs, so. DEXs, it's a really interesting dynamic right now. So the decentralized exchanges in some cases like Uniswap and SushiSwap and so on are for certain assets in certain days experiencing more volume than some of the large private exchanges, which is really, really exciting. I mean, there's a number of benefits that people have for trading on DEXs. And but what it does is it creates new challenges, because collecting the prices that those assets were traded on have to be done in very different ways than when we're collecting it from private exchanges. And so we've been doing a lot of that now. Our software does support about 50 or so decentralized exchanges, so we can automate reporting off of the trading activity that occurs on those DEXs. And that's a big focus for Lukka and our teams, is continuing to develop products that automate processes that kind of break when people trade in a decentralized ecosystem. So I hope that helps. We are also catering to businesses around the globe. So we are a global business with one headquarters in Switzerland. We're opening one up in the next week in Singapore, and we're going to continue our global footprint around on key markets. And we've already been catering to global customers around all those regions for years. On this slide, you can see our reference data coverage, which you can see is a lot more than the pricing data. So over 14,000 unique. Those are only spot assets. When you look at the crypto derivatives, obviously the numbers get much bigger. When you look at NFTs, right, that's a whole different way to quantify it. And we absolutely support NFTs and a lot of those other marketplaces that are supporting the ecosystem. I'm not sure if you're taking any questions or anything. I am happy to take any.
I have to say that just looking at the market, having seen it sort of since inception, it seems to me that it's quite a chaotic marketplace, and it's fascinating that you were able to organize that chaos in some way. What do you think are the primary movers of organization in this market? What is the primary focus of the reference data?
Yeah, I mean, the reference data really is just saying we want to make sure that all the innovators that are creating these dexes or any other businesses for crypto can continue to do that and not have to worry about all the post-trade operations that their customers have to worry about afterwards. And that's, sometimes more challenging in certain scenarios and with different innovations. So I think that's our core objective for any of our data products and our software, is to kind of clean up all that data so people can continue innovating, because the innovating supports the consumers, it supports the businesses, it supports all the people that are interacting, and it gives them a lot of very exciting ways to trade, that are very different than the way that they've traded in traditional, securities or other markets. And so that's the big focus. I mean, what excites us at Lukka is we believe that all assets globally could benefit from being tokenized in a future in some way, one way or another. The ability to exchange assets for one another without cash or fiat is a huge advantage, and being able to do that in fractional quantities across borders just changes liquidity in ways that we haven't seen historically, and I think we haven't even seen the biggest impact of all of this, which is very exciting. So when we can offer online marketplaces and access to assets that traditionally you can't access, right? And it therefore makes them much more liquid. That's hugely important for the world and the ecosystem and all commerce, really. And so what we aim to do is to continue to solve all the problems that result from all that innovation in a global marketplace.